The Diddy verdict is in, and Diddy was found guilty and innocent, all in the same verdict. The jury delivered a split verdict, and when Diddy was acquitted of the most serious charge, the sex trafficking and the racketeering, the supporters started squirting baby oil all over themselves.
Oh, jeez.
I'm
like, don't be my supporter.
My goodness.
That's hilarious. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Squirting baby oil in celebration.
Yeah, because when you think about what he was accused of, but
the hell?
These people are nuts.
That's
insane.
Disgusting.
That's an insane thing.
It's disgusting.
It is disgusting.
And, I will tell you another thing that I thought was disgusting, and you don't have to agree with me, but this is my opinion. When Diddy entered the courtroom, once we found out that the verdict was ready and it was ready to be read and he's escorted back into the courtroom, he made every single person in there stop for a minute and say a prayer. And I thought to myself,
what do you mean?
Are you saying the same prayer, Diddy, that you were saying when you were kicking Cassie's head in?
I know.
He did. He did.
How was he allowed to do that?
He asked if he could stop and say a prayer.
And the judge let him.
That's my understanding.
Here's the other thing.
We weren't able to see it because
I heard the same
it was
thing.
like, but
the prayer thing.
It's like, is that the same prayer you were saying?
He's doing it right before the verdict.
Right.
It's like too late.
He did it for the
prayer?
verdict for himself.
Yes.
So,
you think maybe that was the prayer that maybe Cassie was saying when she was fearing for her life?
I know.
So now
and
all
other people.
the Cassie thing, Cassie did all this testimony and all this stuff for nothing. And one thing I wanted to know, did anybody squirt Astroglide too?
Just the baby oil.
Because he had a lot of Astroglide.
He had a lot of it, and Viagra.
Just hearing about the baby oil. But Diddy found guilty and innocent. We do have our official attorney, Lisa Lanier, on the phone to break it all down. But here is what we heard as the verdict was being read.
They acquitted him of the sex trafficking, which he was absolutely innocent of. They acquitted him of the racketeering conspiracy that he was absolutely innocent of, and all of the components to it. The kidnapping, he was innocent of that.
This is attorney,
the
right?
arson, he was innocent of that. The obstructing justice, he was innocent of that. And that is no longer just me saying that. That is the verdict of our jury.
Yeah, and so he's facing a maximum. We'll get Lisa Lanier 20 years, but I don't think we'll see what she thinks.
And we were
anywhere close.
We were waiting for the judge to decide whether Diddy would be granted bail. I mean, be able to walk free.
I can ask Lisa this. My brother Abe was telling me this yesterday. He said that the judge kind of did him dirty in this one sense when he was like, "I want you to write why you should be let go in jail on bail." He instructed him to write something. He said, because I'm sure you don't want to go back to the Manhattan prison. And Diddy put his hands here and said, "No, sir, I don't."
So he just has to write
almost
it?
gave him hope that he was going to be. It's not like he was going to have a good chance of.
Like if he just writes a great essay,
being released. Just do this thing for me. And he said, because I'm sure you don't want to go back. And then he knew he was going to send him back anyway. It's weird. Let's go to our official attorney, Lisa Lanier. Good morning, Lisa.
Hi, Lisa.
Hey, good morning. I'm just over here squirting baby oil everywhere.
Not that you're a supporter. Not that you're supporting. No,
I'm kidding. No, not at all. I am going to tell you, I'm going to miss Diddy. This has been so much fun reading about this every day, and I've been following it so closely now for 6 weeks. And I'm going to miss it. I miss Karen Reed already.
I know.
It's just, and now, the Brian Kohberger plea deal, I'm not going to get that.
No, you're not.
That's being taken away from me.
It's another disgusting one.
There'll be some, there'll be plenty coming, unfortunately.
Exactly. They're lining up. I'm sure there'll be more. But I think the jury got it right here as far as what was presented. I do think that I think Diddy did sex traffic, but I don't think the government proved it. I think there was too much consent stuff that was admitted. He's facing 66 civil lawsuits going back to the 90s. Where were all those women? Why didn't they call those women?
Right.
Right. Because just these two that he had these lengthy relationships with that had all this damaging stuff about, "I love you so much, Diddy." Why them and why not all these other people lined up? I mean, I think they could have lined women up around the block for this, and they didn't. And I don't know why. And maybe as they break it down later on, they'll tell us. And on the racketeering, which was the other serious charge, where was the evidence? They called, you normally would see other people charged, like underboss type people.
Right.
They didn't define what the criminal enterprise was. They really didn't. I think they were relying on the jury saying that there was sex trafficking and that was the criminal enterprise, but they didn't, because they didn't link that up. And the employees that they called didn't talk about really participating in any kind of criminal enterprise. And in a weird way, they praised him. Most of them, even if they didn't like him, they had to admit that he helped them out, financially or with their career, that he could be a jerk and he was a freak, but he also helped them out. Mm-hmm. But being a jerk and a freak is not a crime.
No, it's not. Let me ask you this, because the Mann Act, is that with the transportation of prostitution for prostitution? Right. First of all, I'm normally very tough on crime. Jason's usually weak on crime.
No, I'm not.
I don't get that at all. If they're an adult, I know prostitution's illegal, except for like one part in Nevada. Mm-hmm. If they're an adult and they are going on their own volition, and you're a wealthy person that can pay for people to go, why does that carry a 10-year sentence when there's no trafficking? The trafficking I get.
Yeah.
If you say if you're an escort, and they had like male escorts and female escorts, and they live in, let's say, one state over, and you bring them to your state, you can get 10 years in prison.
And they wanted to go. They
wanted to go.
They consented to go.
That is a good point.
I don't.
Now you see my side of things, Jared.
I'll tell you what.
Am I missing something?
Okay. So the Mann Act. Well, the Mann Act is kind of like the original old school sex trafficking act.
Okay.
It's over 100 years old. It's like 120 years old. And originally, it said that women and girls could not be transported for the purpose of prostitution. And you think about it, this was 120 years ago. Mm-hmm. And they weren't consenting to that, right?
Sure.
I mean, and so it was modified over the years to become gender neutral, and it has become, so it's kind of like sex trafficking for your own purposes, rather than, sex trafficking often is to prostitute you to others. This is sort of like sex trafficking for your own purposes. And consent is something that I think, that the 8 men on the jury may have had a hard time wrapping their head around a little bit. Because, if a woman is strung out on drugs and financially dependent on this person, and this person is controlling who they have access to, what they can eat, where they can go, everything about them, consent kind of evaporates.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense.
And I think that's the issue with the Mann Act is that, is the person really consenting, or do you have them strung out on drugs, or do you have them financially dependent on you? Yeah. Do they have a real choice? And so they take that out of the equation in the Mann Act. It doesn't matter. You just can't do that.
Well, okay, I see that.
Yeah, I do see that. But and to me, that's okay. So, and there should probably be other charges. Anyway, so I guess the 2 things he was found guilty of was specifically Cassie for prostitution,
and trafficking, and
the Jane
purpose.
person, the purpose, right? So the male people the male escorts that said, oh yeah, he paid me and he flew me in and I urinated and did all this gross stuff. That wasn't part of it. They were just saying what they did.
No, that was the basis for the Mann Act, and that's where they actually thought, some people thought that Diddy would walk on those charges too, because the prosecution did not do a great job at rebutting the defense cross where they said, you were an entertainer. You were these people, right, these escorts, you were a companion and an entertainer or whatever. They said that they didn't do a great job of linking up that it was a true, like a bargained exchange for sex, like you would normally see that really linked up evidentiary, okay, clearly this was being paid for sex. But I think it was a strong inference, and so the jury went with that. I actually think it was a bad move to drop the arson and kidnapping. I thought they had some good evidence on that. I think they could have gotten a conviction on those 2. And I think they should, if they were going to drop something, drop racketeering, because that was confusing. The jury did not understand it.
What was the racketeering? That's the one that most people are confused on about any time, and because usually related to the mafia. What was the racketeering they were trying to prove?
Well, that's what people are scratching their heads about that, right? Okay. I think what it was I think it was that the sex trafficking was the criminal enterprise. And because they didn't link that up, then they couldn't link up the racketeering. But normally when you have a racketeering case, you have employees who come on and testify about the criminal enterprise. We were running drugs, we were running guns, we were,
They didn't have it.
Right, and we were using these legitimate businesses as a front for these things. And that's a criminal enterprise, and you just didn't have that here. Mm-hmm. And so those claims were losers, and the jury didn't understand those claims. So I would have left in especially the kidnapping, where they kept that woman. They had great evidence. They kept her against her will in a vacant building and made her over and over and over take lie detector tests.
And I do think, I think we talked about this a little bit, Lisa, it is human nature. I know the judge says you have to disregard X, Y, and Z, blah, 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 blah.
You can't forget that.
For 6 weeks, you're hearing all this stuff, and they're like, oh, never mind that part. To me, that would me, as just a layman, would be like, oh, they're scrambling. They don't think they have a strong case. It's just this stupid. Yeah. Like, leave it up to the jury. Like, what does it hurt to let that continue?
I mean,
Right.
To me. I think that's kind
Bad
of
move.
what happens. That's the risk that you take if things are presented in the courtroom.
Right.
I mean, I understand
maybe
there has
they
to be
want a
order,
bunch of
but
non-guilty verdicts and only get 2. So like, ooh, let's just try to get at least half.
but to pretend like you scratch that from the record and then just delete it from your mind, it doesn't work that way.
I think it makes you feel like they don't have a strong case in general.
Yeah, it just made them. It made them look like, I think, that they were putting all their eggs in the sex trafficking basket, and that was the weakest part. I mean, they had, powerful text messages about "I love you, Diddy,"
Yeah.
and where are the 66 other women? I just don't understand that.
These prosecutors should be fired, don't you think? I mean, are they elected or are they appointed? I guess.
These are employees, so the district attorney is elected, but then the lower level folks are all appointed, hired.
If you're going to bring, because the feds usually, my understanding, they don't bring a case unless they really think they're going to win it, and by all accounts, they had a very weak.
Well, didn't it start off? Now I'm saying that in federal, they're all appointed. I thought it started out. Didn't it start out being investigated at the state level, and then it got transferred over to the federal level?
Yes,
It might have,
that's
yeah.
right.
I guess so.
Yeah, that's who I was talking about in terms of who made the initial decisions. But no, the federal people are all hires.
Well,
Okay.
and Lisa, I want to ask you this question because Cassie, as soon as the verdict was read, her people, her defense came and they said, we want him to. She's petitioning to keep him behind bars because she says he is a threat to me. I am very afraid of,
Yeah.
and so then. And Diddy will be behind bars until the sentencing. But what are they going to do to protect her? Because she's saying to everyone, "I am afraid of him. Should he be out?" Where's her protection?
Yeah, I mean, there won't be any. She'll have to hire private security or something.
Oh
I mean,
my
And
gosh.
then what if she
expensive.
dies? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
what if something
Well,
happens?
yeah, I think just her being afraid can't warrant it. You would have to prove.
Well,
maybe.
that's what the judge said.
But-
He couldn't prove that, but it's like here she is telling everyone,
Right.
"I'm afraid now," and God forbid something
Well,
happens.
What happens, Lisa? Because I keep hearing appeal, that he's going to appeal. Do you think he has a chance of appealing and getting off?
I mean, he certainly could try, and I thought it was a pretty clear conviction. I didn't hear errors along the way, that he would have. So I don't know if he will. I mean, he probably will because he can afford to do it, but I don't think he's going to ultimately prevail on that. I mean, I think they got him on the Mann Act stuff, and I think, he's and he's only going to get 2 to 4 years anyway, because.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I
but
read
even
each one is worth 10.
Well, up to 10.
I read 3 to 8 if they can, but they were thinking more on the lower
How
side.
is the sentence?
This is technically a
judged?
first-time offender, technically, even though he's been arrested many times.
But they can go up to 10. So how is
They
that
can.
judged by the
It's
judge?
100% in the judge's discretion, but even the prosecutors have only asked for 4 to 5 years.
And they do concurrent, meaning they won't say, all right, serve this one for this one. So,
Yeah, no, I think he'll serve 4 to 5 years total.
at
most.
And he
at
could,
most,
and
yeah.
he probably could be,
And his people are asking for 2 years.
and he might be released early. He could be out in a year.
Yeah.
What are you saying
And he
concurrent?
gets credit for 10 months time served that he's already been in there.
Oh, he'll be in jail for a year or two. That's
and
it.
have
Exactly.
protection and have the probably the bells and the whistles and
Yeah.
So if you have 3 years, you're convicted on both crimes. They can. It's not 6. It's just 3 because they're running together.
They're going to run them together, yeah.
But they
Yeah, in
can,
this
but they
case,
could.
It's not always.
They could
It's
stack
not
them, though,
always.
right?
Sometimes it's consecutive, like Brian Coburg. They made him enter a plea to 4 consecutive life sentences, so there's no way he'll ever get out. But here they're running them concurrently.
Yeah, I did read that he was like a Category 1 offender because technically he was a first-time offender, and
Yeah.
usually it's a 2 to 4 year thing.
I
Unless
thought
they
he's
could,
never been arrested or charged with anything.
he's been charged but never convicted.
Never convicted, yeah.
Wow.
And then I read something, Lisa, is this correct, where the judge could say if there's aggravating circumstances, i.e. drugs and violence, all that. I'm like, well, isn't there?
Yeah.
But
And I think the judge is kind of inclined in that direction because the judge said the reason for denial of bail was because there was so much violence and so much of this other, extraneous stuff like you're talking about, and the testimony of the witnesses that they're afraid.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
so do you think 2 to 4 and maybe outside
he'll
the
get 2 or
box,
4.
he could maybe get 5 to 8 if the judge like throws the book at him, but it's probably not going to happen.
Correct. Exactly. I think more likely, I mean, it's rare for a judge to go longer than what the prosecution asked for.
Oh, that makes sense.
You think all of this is going to change Diddy's behavior when he gets out, or you think he's just going to be more stealth?
That is the question, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you would hope that he has learned a big lesson from this, but his mentality, doesn't, I think lends itself to that celebrity that gets to the point where they think they're untouchable. That so many celebrities get to that point. Did this correct that? Probably not. It probably, kind of rewarded that and stoked that a little bit.
Is he going to be in the courtroom though? How does the civil charges work? Does they pull him out of jail so he can go in the courtroom defending all the 66 women that are suing him?
Yeah, he'll be deposed in jail potentially. He'll be brought over to the other court, the civil side, for testimony and that sort of thing.
I think it would take forever if 66.
Yeah.
Unless they just start agreeing and there's payouts and
And he might just start settling like crazy or not. I don't know. Like OJ, was found not guilty.
And Harvey Weinstein and, all.
Bill Cosby on technicality.
Yeah.
I mean,
that was an appeal, the Bill Cosby thing, I think, right?
Well, didn't they find there was some technicality that something happened? There's some procedural thing that was incorrect. Is that, or maybe I'm misunderstanding
Correct.
it?
Yeah, no, that's right. It was overturned on appeal, but I think he's still in the process. I don't think he's going to go completely scot-free, but he did. He won on a technicality.
And like I've said many times, it's a legal system, not a justice system, because justice does prevail many times. But
in this case,
big stories sometimes they stand out more. You're like, really? Doesn't seem like it seems like he's getting away with a lot. But all right, Lisa, thank you for breaking that down for us. We really appreciate it. If you're ever injured at all, contact her right away at hireaheavyweight.com.